Hello and welcome to my video series on pivot tables. Pivot tables are used to summarize large datasets which are in a table format. Some of the key requirements of pivot tables is that the dataset columns must have headers. And here's an example of some of the headers that we may have in our dataset. So we could have name as one of the headers of our columns, the date as the head of another column, and so on. The other requirement is that none of the rows or columns should be blank. Some of the advantages of pivot tables is that they allow quick data analysis, they're very easy to work with, and they allow us to produce professional looking reports. So let us go ahead and see how we work with pivot tables. So I have a table here with about 5 columns. I have the product column, I have the customer column, amount, date, and state. So this product here was sold to Rafiki at $60 on this date, and my customer was from Arizona. Some of the reports that we can produce from here would be how many customers are from Arizona, how much did we sell in Arizona or Florida, where did we sell each of these products, what is the total cost of products bought by customer Anton, and so on and so forth. So there are so many kinds of report that you can be able to get from here. So pivot tables makes that very easy. You only need a few clicks to get those numbers. So we create pivot table by going to insert, then to pivot table there. So we have our table range. If you don't have it here, then you can select it. Then we want our pivot table to be in a new worksheet. I always prefer to do it in a new worksheet instead of existing worksheet. But you can select whatever works for you. But it's usually good to do it in a new worksheet. So you press OK once you do that. And our pivot table is going to be here. And here is where we're going to be dragging the various fields to these 4 boxes here. So for rows, we need to drop our fields here. We have the column fields, the values, and filters. So we're going to start with the date. And we want that to be a row label. So we have the years here, 2010 to 2016. And what has happened is that from our source data, our dates here have been classified in terms of years. We may not want to do it this way. We probably would like to do it in terms of quarters. And we can do that by selecting one of the fields there and going to Analyze, then to Group, then to Group Selection. And we can select quarters and years. So we make that selection there. And then we can hit OK. So we now have 2010, quarter 3, 2011, quarter 1 and quarter 4. 2012, we made sales in these 3 quarters, and so on and so forth. And you can do the same for the rest of you can have other selections like months. For example, if you want to see how much you're selling every month, you want to compare your sales every month, then you go to Group Selection, you deselect all these and then select month. Then you can see in January, if you drop in the amount, and you do that by grabbing that and going down to values. So you can see that in January, for the 10 years for the 6 years you sold this much. So I would like to go back to the way we had it earlier, and that was in terms of years. So I had quarters and years. So this is how I want it. So in 2010, this is the amount that we sold in quarter 3. 2011, quarter 1 we sold this much. Quarter 4 we sold this much. So one of the things that I need to do and is to change the format of this particular column or field. So you right click, then format, currency, and you can make that 0. So now this looks a little better. So you might also want to get the total amount of sales that you got in 2011. To do that, you make that selection there, and then you go to Analyze, and you collapse the fields. And now you have 2011. This is the amount of your sales, 2012, and so on and so forth. But over the entire period, this is the total amount of your sales. So another thing that we can do with our data here with our pivot table is, if we want to know the amount of or the total sales in each of the states, we can do that by getting the data out of there and the amount. And then now we want the state to be in our row column. So we have the state there. Then we are going to drop the amount. So Alabama, that is how much we sold. Alaska, that is how much we sold. And so on and so forth, all the way down. So we can order this from smallest to largest or largest to smallest by going to data and then sort largest to smallest. So we can do that. So that is now ordered from largest to smallest. One more thing that we can do is that we can put our data here in a chart. So we go to Analyze, and then to Pivot Chart, and then we can select. So we have our chart here. And what we can do, we can remove each of these filters here by right-clicking, and then we hide. You right-click, and then you can hide that. And probably you can also delete that, and you can enter your title there, which is sales per state. So that is how we work with pivot tables. There are a few other things that we can do with our pivot table here. Things like slices, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that in an upcoming video. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.